Hoopball podcast listeners. Are you a fantasy expert and want to write or podcast for Hoopball? Do you have aspirations of covering a team? Are you a master of sales and want to earn some cash on the phones? Well, we've got good news. Hoopball's recruiting. If you think you have what it takes, hit us up at Hoopball Fantasy on Twitter or by emailing teamhoopball@hoop-ball.com. Again, that's at Hoopball Fantasy on Twitter or emailing teamhoopball@hoop-ball.com.
The following is a Hoopball presentation.
Good morning, Hoopballers, and welcome to another edition of Hoopball DFS Today. I am your host, Santino Cacone, and I'll be doing this one solo. This is the September 12th edition of Saturday, and we got one game coming at you. It's a showdown slate. Not my favorites. I'm not very much of a fan of the slowdown or showdown slates. That's pretty much what I do, is slow down with my DFS when I see the slates. But I do dabble here and there on them. It depends, and I'll probably dabble a little bit on this one. We'll see how I feel. This game starts at 8 p.m. and I do know that the NFL is coming up tomorrow, so probably a lot of listeners here are playing a lot of different DFS too. So my thing is, if you're not comfortable with one or you don't like this game, these games, and we're going to be at a showdown slate for the most part coming up soon, because the conference finals are right here, and then the NBA finals. If that's not your thing and you like other sports, go dabble in that. But if you're just a big basketball guy and that's what you play for DFS, then this is all we got for you. But yeah, let's start it right off. This bubble has been great. I can't wait for the conference finals. We still got a few games to go. I'm doing this one the night before, so the Nuggets just extended it to a game 6. The Celtics and Raptors are getting ready to tee off. I'm trying to get this in before that because I want to see this game 7 very badly. And then we got this game 5 from Lakers and Rockets that I'm going to be breaking down. And we already have the Heat, a massive 4-1 win over there. So let's get started, man. I'm saying man like I'm talking to one of my podcast co-hosts, but there's no one here. It's just me. Let's go right into this game. So this is the Rockets at the Lakers. The Lakers are favorited by 6.5 points. The money line is Rockets plus 225, and the Lakers are negative 275. The over-under here is 215.5. So decently high scoring, but not. We've seen 230s in here, 225s and plus. So they think it's a little lower than normal. All right. And when you start with these games, we're going to touch on the injury report really quick too. I assume most people are going to play. On the Lakers side, we'll say Anthony Davis, LeBron James, both probable. They will be playing. JaVale McGee, probable. He should play. Deion Waiters is doubtful, and he's not looking likely to play in this game. And on the Rockets side, everybody is good except for Daniel House has left the bubble, and he is not going to be back. There's rumors about what happened, but we'll just leave that is, and we'll use what the NBA official injury report is saying for personal reasons, and that's why he's not going to be playing. Kind of a bummer because he is a pretty good price on this. He's only on DraftKings, he's only 5,200 or 5K exactly, and if you're putting him in your captain's lineup, he's 75. But let's tackle this. If you're a showdown slate guy, you know that on DraftKings you have one captain, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 utilities. So you're picking a total of 6 players. The captain is 1.5 times his normal price, and he also scores 1.5 times his normal scoring. So the captain is, to me, it depends on how you want to treat it. In this game, I'm trying to get 3 big guys here. LeBron James, James Harden, AD, or Westbrook. I'm trying to get 3 of those guys. And most of the time, two of those guys are going to be the Lakers. I really want LeBron in this. I really want AD. And I would lean Harden as well over Westbrook. But if you need the money to work and you don't like the end of your bench, I don't mind it. Going Westbrook, he is cheaper than everybody else. But if you're trying to get three guys at least, that means none of them can be in your captain spot. If you put them in your captain spot, especially a LeBron or Harden, you're already 18 grand in the hole. You only have about 32, a little under 32 to play with. That's really not much, to be honest. So it's hard to put them in the captain spot. Yes, they score the most. Yes, they have the highest upside. But at 12K right now and normal range and 12.4, you're asking for 60, 65 points anyway, just to bring back 5x value, and that's not even a heater. So they would need 75, a monster game, to really make up for paying up captain's price for that to me. So that's why I'm trying not to put them in the captain, trying to save some money there, put someone else in there, and make sure I get all three of them in there as well. So if you start like that, if you put in three of those big guys, you got about anywhere from 14 to 16K to play with, pretty much. And that's where it gets a little tricky. Who do you like in the captain spot? But again, in one game, a game 5, I do want Harden in there. And maybe even if you wanted to go one of those big Laker guys and go Westbrook as well, it doesn't matter to me as long as you get three of those guys in there. And again, putting one of those guys in the captain spot is really going to hinder your play. In FanDuel, it's a big difference to me because FanDuel doesn't charge you the extra amount per dollar. Everybody is the same price, regardless if you put them in the captain spot, the MVP spot, whatever you do. In DraftKings, you're actually paying for that extra half of a fantasy point. They're giving you 1.5 times the points, but you're also paying 1.5 times the actual price. So it's really not as good as it sounds sometimes to me. Unless you have just a big heater, I don't really care too much about putting one of those high-priced guys in there, especially since LeBron and Harden are 12K and 12.4K. It's not giving you much room for even their ceiling game might not even be a heater. If they get 70 points, that might not even be a fire. If you look at it, it's barely over 5x. It's a lot that you're asking for. With all that said, like I said, I'm going to put three of those guys in my util and then try and make a solid lineup after that. But let's go. Who do I like? Who else do I like? If I put three of those guys in my util, there's not much room for me to be able to afford a Robert Covington, because if I can afford a Robert Covington, that means my last two spots are really going to be nobodies and not really score anything. And if I put all four of them in there, then I'm just going to give away 2 spots. Can't really do that and hope to win a GPP. Maybe if you're playing a 50-50 and you just want to get like a few dollars there, you can win a 50-50 like that, but it's not advisable. So I'm going to have to say no to Covington just because I'm just not going to be able to afford him. Same with Eric Gordon. PJ Tucker is teetering on the line of, can I afford him and can I not afford him, going with 3 big stars. Depending on if you can afford him and you like the other 2 options, not bad, but also you're kind of putting yourself in a little bit of a bind there because he's over 6.5K almost. I think Rondo is a very good play, and he's been playing out of his mind lately. So that's another guy I really like in this slate, and I don't mind putting him in the captain spot at only 7,800. You still have room to play with if you want to go with those 3 big guys, and then Rondo in your captain spot. You still have some room to play with if you want to do that. So that's one thing I look at. And if you don't, then I don't mind putting him in the util as well, because he has been playing out of his mind, and at that price tag, he's the 9th highest paid guy on the slate, and Daniel House is right behind him, the 10th guy. So pretty much he's the 10th highest guy on this slate because we're not even going to count him, and he's playing much better than his price tag right now. So I really like him in there. I don't hate Kyle Kuzma, but for that price tag, for him being priced over Rajon Rondo right now, who's playing, like I said, I can't really pay for that. So I'm going. I like the three of the four big guys, Rondo, and then this is where it gets a little interesting of how you're going to make up your lineup, because all these guys down here are where you're going to have to be playing, but they're obviously not the sexiest of names. But let's see who you. If you're digging down here like I usually am, let's see who. There's a couple people that you can play. Alex Caruso has been playing pretty well. He's a name to think about. He played 30 minutes in the last game. He scored almost 30 DraftKings points, and he took 9 shots. If he's going to take 9 shots, he has some pretty good value, but I don't expect another 9 shots from him, so I'm not gonna actively look at him. A guy that I think might get extra run like he did last game might be another Austin Rivers game. They came back when he was on the court. He put up 14, 5, and 5, took 8 shots in 28 minutes. Obviously, the floor is not the greatest with him. The ceiling is also not the greatest. But he did pretty well, and he might have played himself into this game. They came back, and they looked pretty good with him on the floor. So maybe they go even smaller, throw him in there for a little bit. Even Ben McLemore might play some more minutes. But out of those two at the moment, it looks like Austin Rivers has played himself pretty solid, decent amount of minutes in there. So I don't mind throwing him in there. And at only 4K, it's a good price tag. Very good price tag. If you're going 3 big guys, like I would want to, especially in this game, with on this team, with both of these teams, it's both big guys on the court. We already know the usage is just those two, and then everybody else gets what they can get. So you got to have at least 3 of those, in my opinion. Rondo's a good non-big guy target here because he's playing so well. Austin Rivers is just a fairly priced guy. And then for me, it could be a couple different people. Like Jeff Green, he came back and played some minutes last game. They playing pretty well on his team when he was on the court. He actually played 35 minutes in the game before this as well. He has nearly in 4 of the games so far, he's only had 1 game where he just really flat out was bad. He only took 2 shots. The rest of the games, he put up 20, 22, 21 points. He's hitting value, and that's what we're trying to look for guys down there, because I already have those big guys. So I'm looking for some solid value down there. And if I don't go Rondo, if I want to try and get like a Jeff Green, a Jeff Green and Austin Rivers, Rondo, all them in the lineup, I could throw one of those 2 Rockets as my captain there, and try and squeeze Rondo in there as well. It works out, and it's pretty well. It's not a bad lineup to look at. But if you're trying to go cheaper, Caldwell Pope is someone he plays a lot of minutes, especially in this matchup. He's seeing 30 minutes. He's only 36 or 3.6K. If you're going to see 30 minutes and at least 25 plus for that cheap of a price, it's not bad, because you're going to need, again, very low floor, not the highest of ceilings, but he's going to supplement those big guys. And that's what I'm trying to look for here. Outside of them, Markeith Morris is another guy you can look at. He's played exactly 23 minutes the last 3 games. Obviously, he hasn't duplicated that first game where he scored 16 points with 5 boards and on 6 of 8 shooting, but he's quietly gotten 16 shots the last 2 games. So he's averaging 8 shots a game if he starts hitting a couple, and he has 5, 4, and 4 boards. If he does a little something else, he could get back to near that 20-point fantasy point production, and at 3,400, very easily can fit him in my lineup. But outside of them, maybe I'll look at Dwight Howard, but again, that's under the most dire of circumstances. In the event that I go to Dwight Howard, it's that I'm going LeBron, Harden, and AD, and that all I have left is 3,200. If I'm going there, or even Ben McLemore, I'm already butchering it. If I'm going to those 2 guys, then I just have nothing else, and I'm just loading up everywhere else, and I have 3,000 or 2,800 to play with. That's a dire circumstance, but I would love the rest of my lineup if I'm going that way. Besides that, Caldwell Pope's the last guy I'm going to go to at 36, and that's not bad. You see the price discrepancy between him and Danny Green is 1,000. I'll take Caldwell Pope in that 9 out of 10 times, or 10 out of 10 times actually. Danny Green has a little bit higher of a ceiling, I guess, but he just hasn't really hit it, and he's not getting the shots or the usage. There's no need to spend an extra 1,000 to take Danny Green over a Caldwell Pope, or even, in my opinion, I'd rather have Caldwell Pope at 1,200 less than Caruso. I think Caruso's ceiling is a little bit better, but he's going to cap you on who you can fit in there. And you definitely want Rajon Rondo at 5.2 if you can get him. And Rivers and Green are pretty solid as well. But yeah, to me, it's you got to have three of those big guys. And if you're going to put one of them, the thing is, I just don't like putting the biggest guys at the captain spot, especially in the 2-game slate. I mean, 1-game slate with 2 teams. It's just because it caps your production everywhere else. If they don't have a massive blow-up game, doesn't really make sense. And obviously, these are 4 of the best players in the NBA, so they could have this blow-up spot. But no one has topped 70 points in the series out of those guys. So to me, putting yourself in a bind to get that extra half a point per each point that they score is kind of just capping your overall points at that, because they're not giving you that super duper can't believe I said super duper, but they're not giving you that super duper, I'll say it again, production there. So you're not going to be able to get 3 of them. If I put LeBron or Harden or AD in my captain spot, I can only get 1 more big guy without having to play a Damari Carroll or J.R. Smith or Ben McLemore, and probably playing 2 of them. So to me, I'd rather not put them in my captain spot. Put either Rajon Rondo, Jeff Green, Austin Rivers, maybe even Caldwell Pope. That's where I kind of don't want to go. But if I have to, and I could possibly get someone else, maybe fit 4 of them, if I could, maybe I'll do that. But that's pretty much where I would lean towards. I would want one of those 3 middle tier guys in my captain spot so I can get at least 3 big guys. And then if I try and go 4, and then I could play a Caldwell Pope and Markeith Morris and put whichever of those teetering middle guys that I can fit or feel most comfortable in. Say if I can fit Rondo at my captain and still get Caruso and Morris and Caldwell Pope, I'll think about that. That sounds like a really good option. But if I can't, then maybe I'll play like a Markeith Morris or throw someone in that captain spot. I don't think you can even get all 4 of them in the lineup at the same time. So you'll have to play it by ear. In the event that I can't, I don't think you can get all 4 in the utility spots just because they're so expensive. So if you're going to go 3 big guys and then throw a little bit more, then maybe throw in if you can fit Rondo in your captain spot. That's where I'd be leaning towards. But I'm trying to get at least 3 of those big guys, Rajon Rondo, and my 2 favorites out of the other ones are Green and Rivers, and lower tier are Caldwell Pope and Markeith Morris. And again, if I'm in dire straits, maybe Dwight Howard, but I don't think there's a reason that you need to get into dire straits there. And I think all of these guys are going to fit right in their pretty good salary right there. Yeah, 1-game slate, it goes really quickly. And that's pretty much what you want. In a Houston versus Lakers matchup, it's get the big guys, get as many as you can, and then find the little ancillary pieces, as my buddy Mike likes to call it. And Rajon Rondo is playing the best out of all of those pieces. Daniel House would have been a very good piece, but he's not available. So we can pivot to Austin Rivers and Jeff Green, who should see a little bit more run without House. And McLemore could also see run. So if you feel like it's going to be McLemore getting the minutes and not Austin Rivers, feel free to switch that out, and then you get a couple hundred extra to play with. But those are pretty much all the guys that you want to do or get in your lineup. And yeah, if you're not feeling comfortable, because I'm not huge on the showdown slates because it's pretty much who's going to be the best player of the night. And in this matchup, we have 4 guys who can be the best player on any given night. Harden, LeBron, AD are all top 7 players at worst, no matter how you want to put them. I know everybody's top 5 is a little bit different, but no matter how you want to put them, there's not 7 better people than them. And Russell Westbrook's right up there too. He's top 15 at worst, no matter where you want to put him. It's just athleticism is unparalleled. His shot is not great. He beats himself up a lot. He's his best defender, I always say, because when he takes terrible shots, he's just playing great defense on himself. But he's still a great talent. So in a showdown, it's just who's going to be better. Especially in that FanDuel game where you don't have to pay extra to put them in that MVP and that 1.5 times and that superstar guy. That's where I kind of tend to lean towards when I do the showdown. I know we stick to DraftKings, but especially in the showdown, I like that I don't have to spend extra money to fit people where I want to fit them. It just makes it a little bit easier, and then you get 10,000 extra to play with. So you can also fit more people in your lineup. I haven't checked FanDuel at the moment, but there's a possibility that you can fit all 4 of them in there. And if you could, if that's a possibility and you can still get some nice ancillary pieces, I don't mind filling up all the utilities and seeing where it goes from there. If you can get there and then have an empty spot, it sounds bad, but at the same time, if you have to go with Caldwell Pope or like a Kyle Kuzma and a PJ Tucker instead of playing an AD, add them both together and they might not even score half of AD on AD's good night. So I'd rather, if you have the possibility to tank one and get all 4 of those guys in, I don't mind that at all. But yeah, I haven't checked that out yet, and we don't really always go after FanDuel, so that might not even be a possibility that I'm just throwing out there, and it might not even be true. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the slate. This is going to be Game 5. The Rockets are going to try and play. They need to win this game, and I expect James Harden to have a pretty good game, so I'm leaning towards playing him. That's who I want in this lineup out of the Rockets. If I had to pick him or Westbrook, I want him more because he did shoot 2 of 11 last game. He was pretty bad. He's probably hearing about it and how bad he's been. He's had multiple games like this in the playoffs. Game 7 against OKC, he shot 1 of 9 from the field. Game 6 of OKC, 3 of 11 from the field. Game 5, 4 of 8. So he just hasn't played great. And those are all from 3. But 2 of 11, 4 of 15 shooting in games that they needed to win. Game 7 was 4 of 15 from the field. I'm sorry, I was reading his 3-point shots before, but that's bad all around. And this is a game that he needs to win. And to get into Game 6, he has to play great. They can't win without him. So that's why I pay the extra $2,000 definitely to get him over Westbrook. If you take LeBron, AD, and Westbrook, because LeBron and AD are great. But if you have to pick one, to me, I'm going to lean a little bit towards Bron in this game. It's a closeout game. Bron really plays great when it's closeout games or it's elimination on his side. But it was AD who had the better game last game, so I'm going to take the turn and go LeBron. And that third spot is where it comes tricky. Do you want to spend a little bit extra to get AD can you spend a little bit extra to get ED, or do you have to spend the 1,600 down and get Westbrook? I don't think Westbrook's a bad fallback option. Again, his back's against the wall right now. Game 3, he played really well. That's what I knew he was going to have a good game in Game 3. I remember I was on here talking with Steve about it. Thought he had to come out and score more. He was going to get the open shots and play a little bit better. Last game, he didn't get as many rebounds or assists or do anything. He still scored 30 points. He scored more than he scored in game. Or he scored 25 points, but he didn't do the other stuff that he normally does. He's a big rebounder, and he didn't get many assists. If you push a little bit of those up, then he closes the gap on AD. But AD has himself 50 plus points in every game this matchup. He's just too good and too big for PJ Tucker and Robert Covington. So if you want a little bit of upside, maybe Westbrook just goes off because his back is against the wall. If you feel a little bit safer, spend that 1,600 extra and get an AD who has a minimum of 54.5 points, which he scored in the last game. But that also comes with, if you go the big 3 and leave Westbrook out, you might not be able to get a Jeff Green, Austin Rivers, and Rajon Rondo, depending on where you put who in what captain spot. And if you don't get them, then like I said, Markeith Morris, Caldwell Pope are also solid. To me, I like to try and balance however many people I put on each team. So it's just going to be about how I'm feeling and how the night comes up there. But those 2 Rockets guys, their backs against the wall, definitely like them. Rivers, McLemore, and Jeff Green are the people I'm looking at on the Rocket side, because that's where the money lies, and they're all going to get, especially those Jeff Green is going to get minutes. Rivers and McLemore are going to see a bump in usage in minutes because House is not there. And on the Lakers side, the ancillary pieces, Rondo, because he's been playing great, Markeith Morris because he's been playing, and Caldwell Pope because he also, he's going to get 25 to 30 minutes in this series and pretty much every game with a couple more. And for his price tag, he's not a bad play compared to other people that you don't know if they're going to play or not on this Laker team. But as always, if you're not feeling this, go to mybookie.com and check out and put in the promo code HoopBall, HOOPBALL. And with that, you get 100% of your deposit matched. And you're right on, it's right on cue. If you're not feeling this DFS slate, get your 100% deposit and play the money line, play the over-under, play the spread. It's 6.5, like I said, and get ready. And also, football is tomorrow. So the NFL opening season, opening Sunday is tomorrow. So you definitely want to get that in there now, and then you can make some good bets there. Check out our betting podcast and get all your news and notes and figure out who you need there. And if you're not late and you did this a couple days ago, you would have saw that MyBookie was pretty much giving you $45. I took it. It was a take the Chiefs for plus 54. It literally giving you money away. And they let you take a max bet of 50, which paid out 45. But it was pretty awesome. I hope you guys took advantage of that because I know I did. And it was great. But yeah, also check out our another partnering sponsor in Manscaped. That's manscaped.com. Enter the promo code HoopBall20. That's HOOPBALL20. And get 20% off your order, and also free shipping. And check out that Lawnmower 3.0. That Lawnmower 3.0 is fantastic. I've said it every time I'm on this podcast, but if you don't have one, you're missing out. I'm speechless right now. That's how good it is. It's fantastic. But yeah, guys, I can't wait for this Game 7. I'm kind of my mind's all over the place right now because I'm trying to get to watch it. And yeah, this Game 5 is going to be pretty good. I hope the Lakers close it out, get a couple extra days of rest. The Clippers lost, so they got to play again on Sunday as well. But all right, guys, that's it for our Saturday, September 12th edition of Hoopball DFS. I was your host, Santino. If you want to find me on Twitter, you can follow me at Santino Caccone. That's at SANTINOCACCONE. Thank you guys, and have a good night.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.